Hey guys, welcome to Big Loz Official. Today we're going to take a look at 10 of the most impressive strongman performances ever in strongman competitions. So I'm going to keep this to full competition. So we're not going to see any of the Thor 501, Eddie's 500 kilo deadlift. As amazing as those lifts are, I'm keeping this to full contests, and I'm hoping there's a few in here that you might not have seen. So first up, we're going to take a look at Mark Felix and the Hercules hold. Specifically taking a look at any of Mark's performances from the Hercules hold in any of the Giants live contests. The man is totally in a league of his own when it comes to grip, and he's beaten his own world record every single time that he's done it in the last few years. It's going to be interesting to see how far he can push this record. So Mark's record currently stands at 92 seconds, which is absolutely insane. He's so far ahead of everyone else, like I said, and he just seems to be able to break it anytime he sets his mind to it. Unbelievable grip strength. Truly some of the biggest hands you've ever seen. I mean, I understand about grip strength. I'm good at Hercules holds. And when I do a grip event against Mark, I feel like a little boy. So the next event we're going to take a look at is Brian Shaw's boat pull from the World's Strongest Man in 2009. Now this event was a real tough one. I can tell you from experience, I was there, I was in this contest. Mariusz Pudzianowski was leading. He went and did an incredible time, absolutely blitzed everyone else, to be honest. Mariusz pulled the boat in about 39 seconds, and Mariusz was always extremely good at these type of events. But a young, fresh-faced Brian Shaw was not going to be beaten. He looked so efficient. He made sure he used those long levers and that big strong back, and he pulled the boat so fast. He was about 8 or 9 seconds faster than Mariusz, and Mariusz was so far ahead of everyone else. It just shows what an incredible performance Brian put in, and it really established himself as the future dominating champion that he was to become. Next up, we're taking a look at the keg toss from the World's Strongest Man final in 2014. So up steps Brian Shaw. He puts in an incredible performance, throwing all 8 kegs over in a new world record time. Absolutely blitzed the field, and he was confident, I think, that he would hold on and take the win. But up steps a young Thor Bjornsson, keen to take the title himself, and obviously sort of matched Brian in terms of height and explosiveness. They're two of the greatest athletes of all time. This was a real good battle between the two of them. And Thor manages to just pip Brian's time. You watch the final keg and it just goes over. And this type of event, it's so easy to make a mistake and you end up, hitting the barrier and the keg coming back down. But this particular day, he hits it perfectly, takes the win, set a new world record and maximum points in the keg toss. Our next event takes us back to the World's Strongest Man from 1999, and we're going to take a look at a young American, Whit Baskin, taking on the car hold. This kid is what World's Strongest Man is all about. It's not always about seeing who can lift the most weight. Sometimes you just want to see those guts and determination. I clearly remember this and vividly seeing this and being inspired by what he was doing. So Whit had 52 seconds to beat, I believe. There was the leading time in the group. He gets strapped in, lifts the car, and he's just focused on holding. You can see he wants to put in a performance. He wants to perform. He wants to get to the final. He goes past the 52 seconds. He beats his opponent who drops his car as well. And he just keeps going. He's just fighting and fighting and fighting. Eventually crashing down at 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Bear in mind, he had 52 seconds to beat. He was just trying to put in a hell of a performance, show that he deserved to be there. And I don't think we've ever seen such a car hold in history before that or since. Incredible performance. I remember having goosebumps watching it and being inspired, and it really was. It still sticks in my head now as one of the best performances at Worlds ever. So now we're going back to the 1981 World's Strongest Man, and you cannot have a best of list without the incredible Bill Kazmaier. Now we're including his squat from this year, but quite honestly, you can take any static event that Bill did. It was always inspiring to watch, and he was so far ahead of the game when it came to static lifting. But the reason I've picked this squat out is because Bill tore his pec in the event before, which was a bar bend, and then he went on to win the squat. Now, if you've ever squatted and you've torn your chest or your pec, trying to get under a bar and get your hand in position is just going to be absolute agony. But Bill blocks out the pain, he gets under, lifts the winning lift, which is way ahead of everyone else, makes it look easy, walks away, and then he goes on to actually win the deadlift as well, which is another static lift. Again, having your pec pulling with these type of weights, he's going to be in agony, but Bill never let that stop him. He was such a determined athlete. He had that laser vision, those kind of scary, ice cold eyes, and when it came to those static lifts, he was just always so incredible to watch. So as you guys are watching Big Loz Official, I thought I best include myself in this list. We're going to go back to the World Ultimate Strongman from 2018 and going to look at the yoke race. It was a 580 kilo yoke over a 15-meter course. Now, if I'm totally honest, I was absolutely shitting myself before this event. It was such a heavy yoke. Training, you know, it was going okay, but I'd never performed on a yoke that heavy in a contest. So I was a little bit nervous. And we had the absolute best guys in the world. Kiliashkovsky was there, Thor, Brian Shaw, you know, all the top guys. And I managed to do the top. I finished the yoke in 15 seconds. I was just over 5 seconds faster than anyone else. Second place was Mateusz Kiliashkovsky, and just behind him was Thor Bjornsson. 7 of the athletes didn't manage to finish the yoke. It cemented myself as one of the best on the yoke. And I thought, I'm going to include myself in this list. Next up, we have the deadlift for max from the World's Strongest Man Final 2017. Eddie pulled 472 kilos. But what's so impressive about this to me is firstly the bar that was used. This wasn't a whippy deadlift bar. This was a stiff bar. It was a thicker than normal bar. It was stiff with bumper plates so that the weights were really kind of out wide. The bar didn't flex like you see sometimes with the Hummer deadlift at the Arnolds or some other bars. You get the bar where the kind of weights kind of bend and stay on the ground for a lot longer. This way, it just came off straight away. Eddie was so far ahead of everyone at this time on the deadlift. I think Thor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw came in second on the deadlift. And it was I remember it being a real strong deadlift contest. Literally everyone was pulling over 400. I think half the field pulled over 440, which was, you know, ridiculous numbers, almost 1,000 pounds by over half the field. But Eddie blew everyone away. He was so strong at the time. For me, this is his most impressive deadlift. Not only done in terms of equipment, but also this was towards the end of a grueling contest. He'd already had the heats. He was halfway through the final. Really such an impressive performance. And for me, established Eddie as the best deadlifter of all time at that time. Next up is the log for reps from the World's Strongest Man 2011. So I could have picked a number of log lifts from Zydrunas Savickas. The guy has done so many incredible things when it comes to pressing. But as I was in this contest, I used the same bit of kit. And for me, watching this back now and watching it at the time, it was just absolutely incredible to witness. I've never seen a man lift such a heavy log for so many reps, and his technique is just perfect from start to finish. Most of the guys, when you watch the competition, their balance goes, they're stumbling all over the place when they start to fatigue. Zydrunas' feet are rock solid. Every single rep is just the same. Cleans the log up, presses it overhead, goes back to the floor. Now you had the likes of Lalas, who was one of the best log lifters at the time in this contest. You had Derek Poundstone. When it came to reps, Derek was just unbelievable. Used to beat everyone. Those two guys were joint second with 7 reps. Zydrunas went and did 10. He was just so far ahead of everyone when it came to pressing, particularly at this time. And when you go back and watch it and you see how steady he was, I mean, he was a monster at the time. He had that big, thick midsection, and I think what really separated him was his ability to just cope with the weight. He was so stable, so strong, the power of his shoulders and triceps, unbelievable to go back and watch. And obviously being in the contest, knowing how hard it was and seeing what he did is mind-boggling. Next up, we're going back to the World's Strongest Man 2008, and it's the Power Stairs. So this wasn't your purpose-built Power Stairs set. This was actually a staircase that was built into this wall. And each step, although it was extremely high, it was actually extremely the depth of each step was huge. So you almost had to lift the implement up, and then the athletes had to almost duck walk to the next one. And Marius doesn't start that quick on this. You see, as the athletes go, Phil Pfister's well ahead. And it's as if halfway through, Marius just figures out a new way of doing it. He gets jet propelled. It's like he goes into overdrive. He just starts swinging this 225 kilo implement, beating everyone else by about 14 seconds. Only 3 guys out of the 10 finalists managed to finish this event. It was a brutal one to watch. People's hands were being torn up. People were dying afterwards with exhaustion. Marius just blasts up the stairs. throws the implement down, walks off like the dominator that he was at the time. He really was an incredible athlete and probably doesn't get enough recognition for how impressive he was at so many events. Like I said, I could have picked a handful of events when it comes to Marius, but this one for me really stands out. So we're sticking with the world's strongest man from 2008, and this time we're looking at the Atlas Stones. So we're including myself again in the number one spot, but this time I'm not the one performing. I'm getting my ass handed to me by the incredible youngster Harold Haugen. Now, when it came to Atlas Stones at the time, Harold was in a league of his own. This particular set of stones went up to 182 kilos, 400 pounds is the last stone. Harold absolutely blitzed past everyone's time, finishing the run in 16 seconds. I still don't think there's been a quicker time than this at World's Strongest Man. Obviously now the stones have increased in weight, but Harold was so far ahead. When you look at him just almost hammer curling every single stone up, he jumps up onto the top flint after doing all the stones, and I'm still there doing the third stone. It's one of the most impressive stone performances I've ever seen. I think it doesn't get enough recognition, and I wanted to include it in the number one spot on my list. There are literally hundreds of incredible performances we could have picked. Let me know your favourites in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back with more strength action soon. While you're here guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.